Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to tonight's rendition of the Swedish Super Cup. I am Anders Björling, your host for tonight. Joining me today is Dennis Rashid, one of our contenders from the previous rounds. Today we're looking at the finals, which is Thomas Rosholm playing Replenish versus Joel Larsson playing Paris.
Hello.
So, welcome, Dennis.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. A match of the ages, to be sure.
Yeah,
Paris,
definitely.
one of the newer, decks that everyone loves to hate, I would say, except for Joel, of course, who loves to love the deck. And Replenish, an old favorite. A good choice by Thomas Rosholm, in my opinion.
Definitely.
Even though I I was on the receiving end of it first round.
Yeah, I mean, let's not talk too long about that, but we can. I guess we can summarize it by saying that black has never been the color known for dealing with enchantments effectively yet.
That is true.
Yeah, I guess that's what it came down to in the end. That Parallax Tide and that Ivory Mask being hard to counter for the black deck.
Pretty much unwinnable for my choice of deck. But, fair enough. Here he is in the finals. Worthy of the spot, in my opinion.
Definitely so, definitely so. So before we get started, let's take a look at the two decks we have here, because not everyone has been with us from the start. So let's start out by looking at Larsson's deck. So Larsson playing the more modern of the two, fairies from what year is this? 2005, 2006, maybe?
Not even sure. I think it's later than that, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe even 08. Yeah, don't quote me on that.
It's Lorwyn, with all the fairies, obviously.
Yeah, of course. So
what is it? Time spiral block as well.
So what are some of the cards you think will be more important in this matchup for Larsson versus the Replenish deck?
Well, I think that Joel will want to play a classic fairies match, as in some early pressure and then try to control it out with a turn 2 Beer Blossom or whatever. But I don't think that he actually needs the turn 2 Beer Blossom. I think the flash threats and the land threats are probably enough. But the Thomas deck doesn't really offer too much of an opposition against the normal fairies plan. So I think he'll just do his thing, and I have to say that he's probably favored in this matchup by a decent margin.
A decent margin, you say? Yeah. I mean, from my point of view, I think that apart from the hard counters in Crypto Command, I think that Vendilion Click is going to be a really good card here, because we talked about this earlier with the combo decks versus the counter plan. You kind of successfully sculpt your hand to a point where you can kind of go off.
Mm.
And I think that this is the case here as well. I mean, so if you take a look at the Rosholm's, the Replenish deck, we'll see that, some of the enchantments definitely pose a problem for Larsson. I think that Parallax Tide is a really good card in the matchup and will, of course, allow Rosholm to, should he resolve it, to actually, enable all of the other side of its deck. However,
I think that Parallax Tide is Rosholm. Thomas could definitely overwhelm Joel's deck with Joel will want to counter even the attunements and maybe even the frantic searches and obviously the replenishes if they are significant enough. Along with the Parallax Tide being quite an issue, he can ignore Parallax Wave. And I guess the Lilting Refrain, I think that Lilting Refrain will be important as well. So yeah, it could actually match up quite well against some of the draws fairies have. But I think that, he won't really have time to play around the Rune Snags. So I think that Rune Snags will be an actual counter in most points of the match. Both decks have some dead cards, but not too many dead cards in Rosholm's decks, I guess.
But doesn't that, I mean, sort of contradict what you said earlier? Doesn't that mean that Bitter Blossom is actually kind of an important card for the Fairies deck to actually get the pressure going early on?
I mean, he will always want to have a Bitter Blossom turn 2, of course, but I don't think that it is necessary for him to maintain his advantage in the game. I think that having a flash threat of any kind is probably enough, because Roseholm, I'm not sure he can just play Drago against a deck like Fairies. I mean, even the lands are threatening the Fairies deck. So, and you can't even count on your enchantment, seeing as Larson has cryptic commands. He always has a possible end of turn. I'll just get back my creatures and kill you or whatever, even though he ignored the Parallax Wave for a couple of turns.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Actually, that's a really.
So, I mean,
cryptic command is such a powerful spell in all aspects.
And even though Roseholm does have a lot of card draw and whatnot, or card search, with the card advantage coming from the Replenish, Ancestral Vision is an Ancestral, so it's kind of hard to measure up on that point as well.
Yeah, certainly a lot of aspects working in the favor of the Fairies deck for sure.
But as I said, I think that from looking at all the decks, Thomas's deck might be the best suited to beat Fairies, because Fairies is probably favored against every other single deck in the top 8, right? I would claim so. All right.
Okay, so any final words or comments before we look at the players and the game starts?
No, I think I'm ready. We'll see. I think a lot will depend on Roseholm's starting hand as well.
So yeah, looking at his starting hand, we have an Opalescence, Replenish, 2 Replenish, a Parallax Wave, but no Parallax Tide and no attunements. So what do you make of this?
This looks like a pretty bad hand in the matchup to me. He has nothing, no early draw, no early attunements or frantic searches. Yeah. And he has to play like a draw-go type game with this. So if he's lucky, then Joel will not play anything early to pressure him. But yeah, we'll see. Joel does not have a Bitter Blossom turn 2 at least. Let's see, he has an Ancestral Visions that he has suspended, and he has Spellstutter, Sprite, Rune Snag, Cryptic Command, and a bunch of lands. Which is not the best hand, but I mean, he has that Visions ticking up.
That turn 1 Vision and that Rune Snag backup, I think is pretty much, I mean, it puts him pretty comfortably in the driver's seat of this match. Yep. I would say.
Yeah, but he actually still needs a legitimate threat in the form of Bitter Blossom or end of turn Sign of Una into starting to miss Spine Flick and whatnot. Because I think that in the super long game, like if it gets to that, Thomas should win out. He has like so many must counters.
So I guess Thomas is looking at this current board state, and what do you think he's going for with the tutor? I guess attunement is one way to go.
I would kind of like an attunement. But
he's sure he can resolve it if that's what he chooses.
Yeah. Let's see what he did go. He went for a back to basics. Yeah, that's a must counter, but I think that's going to be met with a counter spell. Like he should expect that to be. No.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You're not paying attention to the toolbox side of of the Replenish deck. I remember Thomas actually specifically talking about this in the way that he constructed the deck, because his mana base is actually centered mostly around basic lands, and this was part of the plan to actually be able to use the back to basics main deck versus the control deck.
My bad there. I thought that Joel had an untapped land to play, but maybe it was all Fairy Conclaves in his hand or Secluded Glens, and he didn't want to show a Spellstutter Sprite. If so, that was probably a mistake, because now it's suddenly heavily favored for Thomas. That back to basics is like he has to Cryptic Command it and then win a counter war against it. So yeah, we'll see.
Unfortunately for Thomas, no counter magic on his side as of yet.
He doesn't have too many, right? Like 3 counter spells and some Lilting Refrains, but yeah, 3 counter spells and 2 Lilting Refrain. Still
having a counter spell in this situation would definitely
probably be game winning. Oh, there's a basic land, so now he has something to work with.
Yeah, that one basic land actually making a big difference in this case.
Yeah. Looks like he's gonna try to cryptic command it if he opts not to play a Bitter Blossom here.
An interesting thing to note here is that the one basic island is actually not on the deck list I have for the Ferris deck, so...
oh, Joel.
Do you think he's being sneaky here?
No. He has like 4 snow-covered islands on the Ferris list.
Oh yeah, because it's
just up there.
Yeah, that's my. That is actually my plan.
Yeah, that would have been interesting. So, I guess he plays an Opalescence into counter bounce, I guess.
I think this is pretty smart play because it actually forces Joel to tap these lands for...
Yeah, but I mean he's gonna bounce the back to basics, so he's gonna get to untap them. The real question is like, what's Joel gonna do now? He's gonna try to fight against the back to basic, and does Thomas just play it out again? Do you think? Or?
I guess Joel's plan here is to back the to back this up with the Rune Snag and the Spell Stutter, but
yeah,
I don't know if it will be enough.
I mean, it should be, because the only, like, you can Rune Snag it. No, actually, you can't Rune Snag it. Like, you can Spell Stutter the back to basics or a counter spell, but you can't both Spell Stutter for 3 and Rune Snag. So.
Yeah, also Thomas can of course use the Parallax Wave to reduce the number of fairies in place, so I guess
that is
Bitter Blossom would be the only...
It would be for 2, yeah. He can't even counter it for 3, my bad.
And he can actually use the Parallax Wave in response as well, right?
Yeah.
To make it on the actual spell stutters, right?
Yeah. So he can counter one pop. But he goes for the Parallax Tide instead.
Again, focusing on controlling the mana with the Ferris deck.
Yeah, I mean, if Joel would have another Cryptic, I guess he would prefer this being Cryptic than the back to basics. So that does make sense. Plays a Spell Stutter sprite in response, just as a threat or something, I guess.
I don't know what the plan with the Spell Stutter is, but yeah, the Parallax Tide resolves. Yeah, this definitely opens up for
back to
some interesting plays on the Rosalm side.
Yeah, no, I think Rosalm at this point should have it in the bag. No question about it. It's actually interesting. After the match against me by Rosalm, I asked him why he didn't, abuse the way the parallax cards work, and he said, like, what you can do is you remove the whatever parallax card in response to a bunch of the triggers being on the stack, and that means they are gone forever. So you can Stone Rain 5 lands if you have a Seal of Cleansing, or if it's a creature because of Opalescence and you parallax wave your Parallax Tide. But that was actually errated when this was the deck, so he decided to try to comply to the contemporary rules rather than just abuse it. So
yeah, so back in the days when these cards were actually in standard or type 2, they actually made an errata for it because the cards didn't work as intended. But so when the cards actually rotated out of the more common formats, they remove the errata, because
they let it go.
having lots of errata on cards that are not seeing too much play makes for more confusion than anything, I guess.
Yeah, and they wanted the other type of like similar cards to work, I guess, without all the confusion joining from or coming up from errating those specific cards. Nowadays they solved it by not printing, like changing the wording of those types of cards, like the Oblivion Rings. It's instead now the what's it called, the suppression field type things. That it removes them until it's like as long as it's in play, which is a good solution to the whole problem.
Yeah, definitely so. But on the other hand, I mean, the with the Oblivion Ring example, I think it's having the opportunity to remove a...
Yeah, it was like a tricky play that you enjoyed doing, but
like
it
you
was...
could play it and then bounce it as a response, and then you know...
Yeah. It was kind of unintuitive, and that's what they didn't like about it. I think like they didn't mind the actual play that it allowed, but it's not very intuitive that I remove my own thing in response to killing your thing, and now it's removed forever. It's like, doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, you're right.
Here we see a replenish. Just getting back the opalescence. Just getting it in there when it's safe from counter spells.
Yeah, an important aspect of this is, of course, that you can remove the Parallax Tide with the Parallax Wave,
since it's a creature,
before the failing is removed. So,
indeed.
And also, like we see here, you can remove the counters.
Removes the Bitter Blossom, because the Bitter Blossom now is a creature, right?
So if you're in Joel's shoes here, well, I mean, what are you hoping for at this point?
I'm not sure Joel has a way to draw out of it. I think that his only shot is Thomas not drawing any card draw, and then just drawing dead for a couple of turns, and then he can come back.
Yeah.
But that's not very likely. Like, he has tons of good things to draw. He can draw more Parallax whatevers, more replenishes, any card draw, Enlightened Tutor.
Yeah.
He's drawing life for basically everything. Joel, not so much at this point. And we do not know that he has another replenish in hand, right? So 2 even.
Yeah, and the back to basic still, so...
Yeah, which is still a must counter.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, he could ignore it if he has... Let's say if he plays the Teferi at one point, and Rusholm somehow runs out of Parallax Waves. Not gonna happen. He could like kind of ignore back to basics, but he's nowhere near that at this point.
No. But what we see here is the replenishment deck actually kind of... I wouldn't say that it's running on fumes, but it definitely needs to find something sooner rather than later, because that's a lot of lands, and Parallax Tide alone is not going to be able to...
No, I mean, he can
stay away from the counter magic and so on. But
I mean, in the end, he can force a counter spell for by playing the back basics, and then he can force another by playing the replenish, and then another by playing the second replenish. So I think that he's in decent shape. I would claim that he's in good shape to win this one. Of course, I mean, Joel could draw Cryptic into Cryptic or something, since he has drawn a lot of lands, even though he Parallax Tides away a lot of the lands, he can definitely cast Cryptic commands. But he has a Teferi, a Rune Snag, and a second Bitter Blossom in his hand. Playing the Teferi, it looks like.
Yeah. But I mean, if he... With the Teferi and the Bitter Blossom and the Spellstutter, I mean, he actually is actually building some kind of board presence here.
He is, but yeah, he's gonna need He's gonna need some more, in my opinion, or that Thomas draws a couple of lands in a row or something like that. Because I mean, you could play the replenish, like the first replenish, just as a time saver to remove the Teferi and the Bitter Blossom, and just attack with a couple of enchantments.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, but that
sorry.
That back to basics is of course the big problem. That Vendilion click I mentioned earlier would sure come in handy at this point, I guess.
It would. Vendilion click would be a superb draw. But here it is, back to basics. No mana up.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't even have to bother with Parallax Tiding. Yeah, but this is actually, like, if all the games play out like this, it would be interesting, because I think that both of them, like, Thomas's hand was actually good for a game like this. Going into the long game, his hand was a bunch of replenishes and parallax cards, and Joel did not have a turn 2 Bitter Blossom. And he led a back to basics resolves, which bought Thomas a couple of turns as well, with all bouncing and everything. But like this is not quote unquote how it's supposed to play out. This is not Ares operating in the way it usually does. Yeah, he has to play out the Bitter Blossom here, try to keep up some, like, maintain some kind of pressure, even though there's a parallax wave just waiting to remove all the creatures.
Applying pressure. I think that's just trying to keep away the pressure of the now almighty enchantment creatures on the
I think
other side of the table.
I think that he's trying to remove a counter from Parallax Wave with that Bitter Blossom, since otherwise it'll make more jumpers.
Yeah.
But Thomas having, you know, yet another replenish in hand is the nail in the coffin, in my opinion.
Yeah, and he can swing comfortably here, knowing that his opponent will be dead in 2 turns, if nothing unexpected happens.
Yeah, back to basics, doing work. It's interesting if Joel even thought about the possibility that he could just tutor up the one back to basics. Because if so, he should have left mana.
Did he have the snow-covered island at that point?
No, but he had. I think he had a secluded glen, and he opted not to show the Spellstutter sprites, and just played a Fairy Conclave's tapped.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Which is, you know, fair enough that you'll give your opponent some information, but I mean, that's not that big of a deal to let him know that you have Spellstutter sprite. But here we see that Kokum's Kronen, aka Thomas Warsong, takes the first match.
So looking at the sideboard. Joel has some Bulk Gnomes, Damnation, Negate, Torment Script, Pepper Smoke, and Thoughtseize. I get Thoughtseize and Torment Script is definitely going in, right?
Yeah, as well as the Negate would be my assumption.
Yeah, and the Negate. So like what's going out then?
What's going out? Well, probably 3 Terrors. I'm not like and the Soul of Temptation, and probably a couple of the Sign of Unas. That's probably it. Like 3 Terror, 1 Soar, and what is it, 2 or 3 Sign of Una?
What about the Teferi? Do you think it's worthwhile keeping in the deck?
I think it is. I mean, it's just a one-of, and Thomas still plays the actual card Counterspell. I think it's a better like flash threat than Sign of Una is, even though Sign of Una enables misbind clicks. That's I would prefer the Teferi for sure. So
looking at the sideboard of the Replenish deck, then what do you think Thomas will be bringing to the table?
Assuming he brings in the 4th Counterspell and the 2 Lilting Refrains. Not sure about anything else.
Do you think like, the Seal of Cleansing is worth bringing?
It might actually be worth to bring in like the 2 Seal of Cleansing, just to if Joel plays turn 2 Bitter Blossom, he can just play turn 2 Seal of Cleansing. But it's not the best card. I mean, it's very it's very niche. It's a 2-mana answer to a 2-mana threat, and you know, drawing it later is pretty horrible. So I'm not sure. I don't think he has that much to take out, so I would assume he doesn't bring those in. Could. I don't think he'll bring in the Ivory Mask just against the Falsidas, but he could do that as well, I guess. Now I think like the Lilting Refrains are actually quite important, because even if Joel resolves a Bitter Blossom turn 2, if he resolves a Lilting Refrain turn 2, he could set up a turn where he could actually resolve the Replenish to take over the match. By just being able to play Replenish, a counterspell, and having the Lilting Refrain out.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be hard to keep up with. If you play one cryptic, then you're not going to have that many cheap counters. So, yeah. Those are my guesses. Are they done with the sideboarding? Kind of looks.
All right, so let's get the second game going then.
I see that Joel has mulliganed into a pretty bad hand. It's 5 lands and a Mistbind Click. I think at least there's a Mutavault in there, but Thomas actually has a pretty good hand with 2 attunements, an Opalescence, and a Lilting Refrain. And he drew a Parallax. This is actually, I mean, maybe I was just thinking wrong in that, that thinking that Ferris would have an upper hand, because you know Ferris is a very good and boring deck. But looking at like hands like this, of course, Joel just mulligan, but Replenish looks strong.
I mean, I guess the thing with the Replenish deck is that a lot of the cards are really, really powerful, and you know, a lot of them are kind of must counters, right? So
absolutely, yeah.
I guess my perspective on this was that the early Bitter Blossom would be an important card, because it enables the Spellstutter Sprite to counter some of the important cards like Attunement and, you know, like the basics, of course, but also enables you to actually get that board presence going. And
yeah, you're probably right. Like I was underestimating Replenish and maybe overestimating Fairies. Like Fairies without Bitter Blossom is not the same as Fairies with Bitter Blossom turn 2. Obviously, but this he actually boarded in Wrath of God, which is kind of surprising, but it might be a way to get him. Like it might be something that Joel doesn't expect, because he's not actually a creatures deck. Even if you're called Fairies, you're not that reliant on creatures. You're aggro control, not aggro, but. That might be, you know, just the way.
Yeah, I'm actually not super convinced about Wrath of God, because a lot of the power of the Fairies deck comes from the manlands, and Wrath of God, of course, is no help against the manlands.
Yeah.
Maybe there's I don't know. Maybe we'll see Wrath of God being a powerhouse, but maybe I'm missing something important here, because you start scratching your head. And,
yeah, does look kind of weird. Joel has at least drawn a couple of spells now. He has a Rune Snag that he's going to use on this Paralyzed side.
Yeah, that Refrain being on 2, unfortunately.
Yeah, but that's fine for Thomas. He doesn't really care about that.
Yeah, I guess his plan here is to
resolve the Replenish.
Yeah, exactly. Resolve the Replenish, which he hasn't drawn yet, but with the attunement, maybe.
Yeah, he has an attunement out and another in hand. But Joel has like 2 Mistbind Clicks, Spellstutter, and he drew another Rune Snag, so he actually has something to fight with now.
Yeah, and I think that this is really powerful draws from Joel, actually.
Yeah. Looking at his starting hand of 5 lands and 1 Mistbind, it has shaped up to be quite.
Yeah, definitely turning out for the better.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Let's see what it says to these second attunements.
Yeah, let's it pass.
Yeah. He had the option of Rune Snagging there since the Refrain was at 3 still, but no. Now he's going to try to get the Refrain off the board by playing a Mistbind Click just as a threat. Will Thomas comply? I think that the misspine click is kind of scary, but you have 2 attunements on board. Like you want the lilting refrain to resolve the replenish, so you should let it resolve.
Yeah, it does.
Yep.
So it doesn't fall for the bait then.
Yeah.
And I think that they both realize. I mean, with the double attunements in play, any replenish coming out soon will be really powerful.
Yeah.
But I think it's a smart play from Joel. I mean,
it is.
Definitely puts a clock on Thomas.
Yeah, it's what he needs to do. Like, he's not winning by just trying to upkeep the misspine clicks or whatever. It's definitely worth keeping up, putting up for a power clock on board. Let's see, drew an Ancestral Visions, which will probably not matter. Okay, now we go to the upkeep misspine click play. That gets lilting refrained. I guess now Thomas is going to go for like cracking both attunements and hoping to draw a replenish.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
First crack sees no replenish, a couple of parallax tides. He has all 4 attunements in hand and or graveyard now, I think. A lilting refrain number 2 and a counterspell. I mean, he could miss here, and in that case, he could still, I guess, just maybe wrath and not be under any type of pressure anymore. And there's no replenish, but there's a parallax wave.
I think parallax wave is exactly what he's looking for, because that 4/4 is not going to be enough. But if you can pro control Joel's mana, that gives him plenty of room to, you know.
Yeah. I would say that replenish is actually what he's exactly hoping for, but parallax wave might be, you know, buying a couple.
It will do for now. At
least.
Will do.
He might go for. Could like resolve a parallax tide and take another hit just to lock him out of some lands. I'm not sure if that's a good play. Look, the tide will buy you 2 or 3 turns, with Joel having 0 mana, so like that's kind of attractive if you're playing a replenish deck. Yeah, he goes for the tide instead of the wave.
I think that's easily the right play.
Yeah, he can resolve the wave next turn and go from there.
Yeah, and he can easily play around Spellstutter and as well as the Rune Snag. So leaving the 1 island is pretty good.
Interestingly, Joel draws a Thoughtseize, which would have been pretty good if he could cast it. Not only getting like the wave, also seeing the Wrath of God, which I mean I'm not sure you can play around it at this point, but important information to have.
Yeah. So I guess the clock is still out there.
Yeah, I mean,
one thing to note is that if you kill the misspine click, you get the Mutavault back, right?
Yeah.
So
that's giving him a land back, but I mean, you played it wave, but I'm not sure that you wave here. Maybe you take 1 more hit.
I don't know.
But it's interesting. He has drawn 20 cards, so gone through 20 cards. There's no replenishes, nor what's the card?
A Liner Tutor is what you know.
Well, yeah, a Liner Tutor can search for replenish, but could he discarded all his attunements, which I'm not sure was correct. He could have just played the 4th one. He didn't draw any like Frantic Searches or any other draw.
Yeah.
Like I'm not sure
why.
Yeah,
having an attunement instead of the Wrath of God at this point, it's pretty sweet actually.
Yeah, when he drew the Parallax Wave on the last attunement activation, probably should have ditched the Wrath of God and kept the attunement. but I'm not. I mean, I'm not the replenish player.
Neither am I. Neither am I.
This is slightly before my time. I started playing a year or two after this was in standard.
Yeah, I started playing in 2000, which I guess is the 1 year that this was actually the deck.
Yeah.
But at that point, I mean, the first year you start playing, I mean, you don't know.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah,
you don't know. You don't know about anything. So.
No. Well, we all have our kitchen table phase.
Yeah.
So, still nothing from a Lilton refrain, which is kind of a hard counter, but I mean, Joel has a decent shot. Thomas is at 8, and he has a sign of Una.
Yeah, maybe that Wrath of God is actually gonna matter.
Yeah. Let's see what the draw yields for him. The draw step.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you just...
Bye Parallax Tide. What was that?
I'm sorry?
No, he draws an island. And now Joel suddenly has a bunch of lands. Mutavault Threat, a Fairy Conclaves on board. And he can't really Parallax, he can't Wrath those, and Parallax Wave buys a turn or two. Plays Mistbind Click end of turn, Sign of Una end of turn.
Yeah, and this is actually quite a powerful attack if he brings in the...
He can't really, like, he can let this resolve to remove the Scion and then one of the lands with the Parallax Wave, or like Joel can go for lethal here. I mean, forcing the wave activations.
Ideally, I guess you would want to...
Nazis.
Yeah, I think he's going to counterspell that and actually try to use the Wrath of God to get the Sprite and the Una.
Yep.
I mean, if Joel goes for Broker, removing one of the lands, is that enough?
Well, he survives if he removes Sign of Una, but he's going to remove like a land as well to
removing one
to get the wave off the board. Because he wants the wave off the board so that he can actually kill the creatures, and he can't remove the Mutavault because he has to remove the sign first. So.
Yeah, because of the shroud.
Yeah, that's actually
such a good card, Sign of Una, actually. And still,
it is kind of annoying.
It's also, I mean, at the same time, it's kind of one of the weaker cards in the deck, ironically.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is probably the weakest card, but still, like, it was played a little bit of fairies around when it was the deck, and there were plenty of lists that didn't play the Sign of Unas.
Yeah.
So it was, one of the cuttable cards, but still providing some powerful stuff, doubling your clock in many times, many occasions. So he didn't go for the lethal attack, which means that he just used it on the Sign of Una. So now he's not gonna...
I don't really know what the thought process behind that was, because...
So now you just saved the Sign of Una from your Wrath of God. I think that is dead on board, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if Joel didn't go for a lethal attack now. I mean, what are you really holding out, like keeping your mana for?
Yeah, I mean, there aren't even any instant threats from the replenish deck, are there?
Not that I know of.
So I guess that makes it 1-1 then. But then again.
I mean, Joel just drew a Cryptic and a Spellstar Sprite, but... I don't know. I mean, he has plenty counter magic now. So
Yeah, with the misbind like tapping the lands, I guess.
that's true. I guess there's like nothing in the sideboard even that could at all play into that. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, with the misbind click, I guess this is a safe kill as well. Yep. I did not think that Joel would win this match looking at the double attunement turn that Thomas had. But he just couldn't find a replenish, and that's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah.
See, Joel has brought in the Torment Scripts and the Thoughtseizes. He took out the Teferi, one Mistbind and one Scion, as well as the removals.
Yeah.
So I guess similar to what we thought. Thomas is now thinking about the the Wraths. He boarded out the Frantic Searches. Not sure I like that. He did not bring in any Seal of Cleansing or whatever, which is probably correct to not bring in. He's thinking about the Frantic Searches instead of the Wrath. And he does have one Seal of Cleansing still in main to tutor for it if you need. I mean, just tutors are a pretty strong thing. You can.
Yeah, but I mean, on the other hand, I guess it's hard to imagine a scenario where you would tutor for the. I mean, just to kill a Bitter Blossom over fighting some of the other more powerful cards.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he could tutor for a Seal of Cleansing to kill a Tormod Script and then, like, attune his hand into his graveyard and then Opalescence. That might be what he's thinking. Otherwise, just having a Tormod Script in play is an issue for the Replenish deck. Because, like, the incremental advantage game will probably favor fairies.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's see here.
But at least we don't have a 3-0 game. So
yeah, it's actually.
That's for some excitement.
These are some good matches. Like, I thought that Thomas was definitely winning that match, but he didn't. Now it's 1-1. Did he keep this hand? It looks like it. He kept the 2 plains hand with a bunch of good cards, but you can't really cast any. Meanwhile, Joel mulligans again into a 1-land hand, but he has a Ancestral Visions and a Spellstutter Sprite. Yeah, well, a lot will happen with the draw steps. See if we can get them to start playing.
Yeah, I'm having a bit of technical difficulties. Can't get game going. So just bear with me one tiny moment where I get Magic Online restarted. So I could see the game in the lobby, but was not able to.
I actually just follow a game through their hands, like their shared screens.
Yeah, you do that. Go ahead, players.
Go ahead.
Yeah, since I'm not in the game, I cannot communicate with players, so give them a go. Dennis.
Looks like they start, yeah. Okay. All plains against 1 land. Let's see how this turns out. There are a bunch of cryptics, so if Joel draws out of the 1-lander thing, he has quite the hand. As usual.
Yeah. A bit of a wonky start for both players, actually. But, yeah. So far, Joel not finding that second land.
He has 1 more turn. Thomas finding the 3rd plains. And Joel finding after removing his suspend counter. Boom, land, because he's Joel Larson.
Yeah.
That's actually not like the most important land though. Like he wants to do the land drops, but playing the third and fourth land, those are the important ones in in a handful of cryptics and misspine clicks.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah,
see.
that seal of cleansing being pretty weak at the moment. Actually.
Pretty weak. I think Joel is gonna chuckle at that one. But I'm assuming he's gonna draw Bitter Blossom now.
Yeah, that would be some consolation.
He actually plays this. I like this play. He plays the Spellstutter Sprite just to have something to attack with, because he knows that the Spellstutter won't actually counter anything for I don't know how long. So playing a 1/1 for 2 end of turn is something is better than nothing. Might as well start taking it in for 1.
Yeah,
fairies on the board in like at least 5 more turns.
Yeah.
Knowing that he only has 2 lands and visions, he still has 2 turns to go for drawing in some cards.
Yeah, I mean it's better than nothing at least.
It definitely is actually, since Thomas has all planes. All planes and no ancestrals. And Joel draws a Thoughtseize. Pretty good card at this point.
Yeah, definitely. So what do you think he's picking here for the Thoughtseize?
I think that he might just keep Runesnag up, being scared of multiple 4-drop enchantments. I think that I actually probably would keep Runesnag up. Because, I mean, you would assume that your opponent has a bunch of 4-drop enchantments, and taking one, letting him, play a land and play the other is not great. And Thomas finally finds that island. Let's see what he goes for. Looks like Frantic Search.
Looks like Joel is countering. I think that I like this play because he knows that Thomas is dying to find those islands. Parallax Tide, of course, being requiring double blue and being one of the most important cards in this matchup, I believe. So
yeah, for sure. And of which Thomas has 2.
Yeah.
And now
with that Thoughtseize backup, I guess it would be.
Yeah. I mean, now he has like 4 more cards to work with, so he's probably gonna find some lands and some more action here. So 3rd Cryptic and 3 lands, which is kind of exactly what I want to see.
Yeah, those 3 lands.
And now he can, end of turn, Sign of Una at some point maybe, and just Cryptic him out, or even just end of turn, Misspine Click. I think Thomas is not looking too great in this match.
No, I don't know what he's looking for here, actually. I think that this is pretty much over. And I guess this is the kind of way that you imagined a lot of the games playing out, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, being in control from basically turn 1.
It was a questionable keep. I can see the keep just because you had like attunement. Just drawing 1 blue source would get you going. But I'm not sure that's enough in this matchup. Like I think that you can afford mulliganing that hand. He Thoughtseize away the one of the
Parallax Tides.
Parallax Tides. That's fair enough, because he knows that he's going to be able to counter the other one, and that's really the only card he cares about. Or replenish, of course. But Thomas at this point can't really play 2 spells a turn, being starved on blue. He does find a 2nd island, so now he can play the Parallax Tide into any type of Runesnag shenanigans, which Joel of course doesn't have, so that was a good draw. that does give him...
And suddenly we might see something that could turn into a make for a turnaround. I mean, that tournament definitely allows him to find
a replenish.
Replenish, and with the 2 Parallax Tides, I think that Joel will have a hard time finding the lands and the mana he needs to actually get stuff going.
And again, even though he has the Seal of Cleansing Parallax Tide, Thomas, being the good guy he is going to let him keep his lands in the future.
Yeah. Maybe if he drops another game, maybe we'll see.
start abusing. I mean, I would.
But from the looks of it, I think that resolving that parallax tide actually gives him quite some space to win this game.
Absolutely. Now he has the opalescence on board. Suddenly attack for
yeah, attack for 6. Yeah.
Now look at your stupid 1-1 for 2.
Yeah, at least he's gonna be able to jump, right?
Yeah, that's true.
He even has that counterspell to back things up, so yeah. I guess
suddenly that's island into island draw.
yeah.
Oh, that's a good draw as well. That's a third parallax tide light insider.
Yeah.
Because Joel will still have like he will still be 1 mana short of casting cryptics. his hand is absolutely insane if he ever has 4 mana, but he's just not gonna get there. Like he can cryptic the opalescence, he can do a lot of good stuff. But not quite enough.
Yeah, so I guess Thomas is going for the attunement here. I guess that's...
Yeah, well, he could play... Well, he could play the Lighter Tutor in upkeep, so he could play like both the diamond, the sky diamond, and the attunements. He should probably let this, he should probably let this be countered and just resolve the attunement. I mean, Joel is at 6. Like at this point, attunement is actually it's a 3/3, so it's a trained Armadon.
Yeah.
Which is not to be trifled with. It's a 2-turn clock for you. Unfortunately, the parallax tide will be disappearing, giving Joel some lands back.
Yeah, but the important thing is that he has both his spell stutterers in play, and even if he gets his lands back, Rosholm should be able to find another land with the attunement, and if he finds a replenish,
yeah. And a counter
he will have the mana to play it with counter backup. The other option, I guess, would be to play to tutor in the upkeep and try to resolve another parallax side. What do you think his plan is here?
I think he probably should try to find a replenish. Like Joel has drawn tons of cards, and he even drew a 4th cryptic. Like Thomas at this point knows that Joel has at the very least 1 cryptic command, if not 2 or more, and a couple of misspine clicks or whatever he's expecting. So he should play as if he has those cards, and I expect him to. And yeah, he did not go for any Enlightened Tutor shenanigans. Question is if he goes for the attunement, or if he just attacks.
He should attack with the attunement, because even if Joel blocks, he can just return it. It's an instant ability, so...
Wonder if Joel,
both of them.
Like, it would be kind of risky to play some, like, trying to, play a blocker or something. I think he's gonna keep the cryptic up if he... Yeah. Does he block anything? Does not want to go down to 1. But he kind of want to keep the spell stutters around as well.
Yeah, I don't know what the correct play is. He could of course double block the Still of Plenty.
He's gonna chump, which is probably the correct thing to do. Like, I don't think he tries to save it with anything.
Yeah, I guess if you double block the enchantment, he still dies in another swing, but now you can chump the attunement.
Yeah. What do you do? Like, you can just pass here as if you're Thomas, but then you're facing a misspine on a turn, or a Scion at the very least.
Yeah, I don't think he should pass. I don't see any benefits to that.
Now, the only benefit is to not playing something first, like not giving your opponent the option to cryptic bounce anything you play. and you have, you know, quote unquote, the board pressure. But since Joel has, what, how many cards in hand? 6?
6 cards. Yeah, and I guess Rosman passes the turn here.
Like he's thinking that just because he has board position, he's kind of relying on that being good enough. But I don't think it will be.
Yeah, that missed buying click is a pretty solid blocker, actually.
Yeah. Suddenly he doesn't have board position anymore. Who's actually going to counter it? The counterspell will resolve, but you're not resolving a replenish. A land would have been good for Joel there because he could have.
Yeah, the Scion and the Cryptic.
The Scion and the Cryptic, yeah. You know, just Cryptic in the Opalescence is something Joel very much wants to at this point.
Yeah, but if Rosman attacks here, I am. Yeah, I guess he just Cryptic the Opalescence. Yeah, it's a tough call, actually. I guess he'll just chump the attunement and then bounce the Opalescence end of turn, and then rely on, you know, all the other cards.
Yes.
Or not.
What? Why is he doing this? Isn't he just dead now? Of course he doesn't.
I mean, we're still in the end step, right?
No. This is in Joel's turn. Main phase those cards. And Thomas should just get a paralyze. No, wait, never mind. They both have a shroud. So that's what Joel wanted to. But I mean, yeah, he can take an attunement hit. This is actually fine. And I think that we actually misspoke earlier. Thomas did not have that many cards in hand, right? So going for the attunement, discarding 4, I don't think he could play both the land and keep the counterspell and a replenish. So passing makes sense.
Yeah, kind of does actually.
He doesn't have just the cards in hand for the attunement. That was actually a good draw, by the way, the second Opalescence to make a 4/4 here. Now suddenly you have to jump or double block the Opalescence, which is a horrible, you know, double block to make.
Yeah, I guess he blocks with the Scion and Spell Starter, and
I mean, they all, like, he has to take the attunement. Yeah, it's good to attack with the Seal of Cleansing as well. Otherwise, you could just take the attunement and block the Opalescence. Now he's just going to trade. But I mean, it's a fine trade because he can. He has Cryptics for days, so
yeah.
just getting some enchantments off the board is fine, and then it's all going to go down to if Thomas draws something good this turn. Otherwise, I think that you can Cryptic the Opalescence, and then just start chaining them, and then in the end you'll have a Cryptic as a counterspell for a replenish or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, he drew a Parallax Tide of the attunement. So actually, let's Joel keep a Spellstutter Sprite. Oh. Joel draws the Pendelhaven, which can now block the Seal of Cleansing. Dude, these interactions are not what I expected from this matchup. In
MVP.
All honesty, like you're at 2 life, you have to block an opponent's Seal of Cleansing. What do you hope to draw? A Pendelhaven. Oh. Now though, he just drew a counterspell. Oh my god. Yeah. That was the best draw in this deck. Oh my god. And Joel, of course, with 4 Cryptics in hand, being able to play one of them. Wait, yeah, no, he's dead.
Wow.
What a match.
Pretty clutch draw there with the counterspell.
Yeah, I mean, both these last two matches have gone completely the other way of what we were expecting. Like
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
like Thomas had a great board position and a good hand, and then suddenly we saw Joel win. And now Joel had a crazy hand he drew out of his mana problems, all the cryptics in the world. Here we are, Seal of Cleansing, attacking for the win.
No, but yes, the fairy complex.
Oh yes.
Yeah, but you can
4 counters
away,
on the
parallax. Yeah, never mind.
Get away, you.
Shoot. Oh, and here is the game.
It's 2-1 for Thomas. I wonder if he likes the Seal of Cleansings now. I mean, they're creatures, right? Have some threat. Player's threat on turn 2.
Yeah.
These are actually some fun matches. I'm enjoying
it.
them.
Yeah. This is so much fun, actually.
I think this might be the best matchup we've had so far. Most interaction, somehow.
Yeah, definitely so, definitely so. I guess the Fairies versus the Frostbloom was also an interesting matchup, but
it was, but it all came down
it's only
like...
interesting until the point where either deck wins, you know.
Yeah.
Which sounds pretty self-explanatory, but yeah, you know what I mean. That
I mean
it's exciting, but only to that one point.
Yeah, like Frostbloom is more of a traditional combo deck. When it combos off, it wins. And like Replenish also kind of does that, but it can win by some kind of attrition war by just playing your enchantments and using them for what they were meant to do, not all just coming into play at the same time. So it's more of it's a more interesting deck in that perspective. Frostbloom, of course, being the classic combo deck, I guess. If anyone wants to see a combo deck, that's the first one, I guess. It has the Frostbloom deck has its glory, I guess, like its upsides of being such an old school and cool combo.
Yeah.
But I'm enjoying the Replenish deck.
Yeah, me too, definitely.
The most fun choice made by Thomas here. In the Swedish Super Cup.
Speaking of the Swedish Super Cup, I should tell all our viewers that we, after the finals are finished, we'll announce the next round for the format for the next round of the Swedish Super Cup. We'll, stick around and we'll have some pretty exciting news for you. Not gonna spoil it yet, though. Not gonna spoil it yet. But I will say that it's going to be similar, but at the same time maybe a little bit different than this one.
All right, looks like the players are about ready, and if someone lets them know that we're ready, then just let them at it. Looking at the starting hands, we see Thomas with 2 Opalescence and a Replenish and a couple of lands, which is a hand you'll keep because there's no mana issues and you have some of the strong spells. At least you have that Replenish.
Yeah.
And Joel has... We've never seen a turn 2 Bitter Blossom. I guess Joel is
overrated.
Not playing the deck how it's supposed to be played. You're supposed to play turn 2 Bitter Blossom. But he does have some interactive spells. So Rune Snag, Spell Stutter, and a Cryptic. Along with the Mute Vault and whatnot for pressure.
I think this is pretty good hand from Joel actually, but if Rosman plays one of his cards and he wastes the counters without drawing into any more power, I guess, yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm just gonna stop calling how the game's gonna go and say that it looks good for either side because we've said that like 2 times and both times the other player won.
Yeah, we're horrible at this prediction game, aren't we?
I mean, of course Thomas is gonna draw a counterspell there. What else would he draw?
What else would he draw?
Yeah. That's what he needed. That's why he drew it.
So you're gonna find some really good use for a spell stutter here.
Yeah, this is exactly what Joel wants. Counter something with a spell stutter, add some pressure, and Lilting Refrain is actually a very good target.
Yeah. Unfortunately, drawing it one turn late is also.
He still just plays it. I mean, I don't think there's a big enough reason to try to keep it back.
No, I don't think so either. I mean, it does require a few turns to actually do something.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's not the same threat at turn 6 or whatever.
But yeah, getting that spell starter on the board is really helpful because now you can actually play your Scion and have a real clock going.
Future Mistbinds or future spell starters are helped, and
But then we have that Parallax Tide,
It's gonna be snagged.
Yeah. Actually goes for the Cryptic, it looks like,
He just wants to draw a card. I mean, it's kind of risky because you only have a Rune Snag now. That's it, like the first Rune Snag, it's not that hard to play around. Like even your inclination will be to, even if you don't have a counterspell, you might want to represent it, and maybe lead with a parallax enchantment, either one.
Yeah.
And then just fake the counterspell. But now he's just, let's see what he goes for. No Essence. He actively wants this to be countered, I think. Like, waste your cards on this. I think I want to resolve a replenish and nothing else. But Joel lets it through because it does nothing at this point, of course. Upping his clock a bit. The clock's actually legitimate now with 2 Mutavaults that are pumped by the Scion.
Yeah, that's actually quite some power there.
Is he going to activate both? Yeah, he is. He's just going for it.
Wow, that's really brave. And I guess his reasoning here is that even if Thomas finds the replenish, just that one Parallax Tide might not be powerful enough. I don't know. I mean,
he has a Lilting Refrain as a creature as well.
Yeah, but he still has the Rune Snag, of course. So.
Yeah, he does have the counterspell or the 2 mana to keep it up. Ooh, an attunement. I don't know if Thomas can wait here though. Like, he's facing a lot of damage, and
yeah, definitely.
What are you gonna do? Yes, Parallax Tide for
to remove the Mutavaults, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, they can get Shroud. He has 2 mana up. It's like this. It requires a misplay probably. He needs to play a land and hope that Joel tries to counter it. I'm not sure why would Joel counter a replenish for just the Parallax Tide. What? Yeah, sure. He can survive.
Additional point counters.
Yeah. Thomas can survive for a turn, but I think that he might get 1, maybe 2 turns. And if he plays Attunement that next turn, he can't afford to replenish as well, right? Yeah, he can actually. So yeah, he is still in this game. He could attune into a second replenish and find a bunch of enchantments.
Hanging around.
Interesting stuff. Remove. Oh, he's going for these. No, yeah, this is actually fine. This is definitely correct play. You remove the 2 islands, I guess, and then if Joel goes to activate any of those Mutavaults, you can just remove them in response.
Yeah.
But doesn't he? Like, if he lets him untap, then he gets a lot more mana to play around with. Yeah, no, he's gonna remove the mutavaults. He's gonna let him keep the 3 lands, so he's still kind of, I guess, risky because it enables all the missed bind click / cryptic shenanigans.
Yeah, but what kind of options does
I'm
he
not
really
sure
have
he
at
has.
this point?
I don't think he has any options actually. He even the lilting refrain doesn't really help. Yeah, it's all about the next few draws. There's a rune snag in hand, of course, so the attunement or the replenish that it might find will be countered. I think that Thomas needs to find a parallax tide, a parallax wave. Is that it to survive?
Yeah, parallax wave would definitely.
Because then you can just pay for the rune snag or counter it. But I'm not sure he has any other outs.
I guess you can play the Opal Essence and take another 3 in the air. No, but the Fairy Conclave is also in the air.
Yes.
Yeah. Looking like so good.
Well, just trying to come up with a card that might be an out at this point, knowing the rune snag. Otherwise, the attunement, he's probably going to go for the attunement at this point, because attuning into replenish is probably his only in his mind. He's only out, but we know that the rune snag will put an end to that.
Unfortunately, the refrain. I mean, having it.
Yeah, one counter.
2 counters would be as well.
It will make the entire difference in this point.
Yeah.
Well, that's good, right? That would tie it up to 2-2, and that's kind of how that feels fair.
Yeah, I mean,
these are some even matches.
Makes for an interesting game. And here we see what are we seeing here? Taps 2 lands, but
There
it is. All right. So what does he find?
Well, give him some false hope by finding a replenish? Nope. A bunch of lands.
Do you think there's any chance of Joel not attacking with the Fairy Conclave?
I mean, if he hasn't paid attention to the deck list, maybe. But I think that the deck lists are open, and he knows that there's 0 instants that matter at this point.
Yeah, so, I don't think.
Yeah, I would not keep it back if I was Joel. If I were Joel.
Here comes the beatsteaks.
Yeah.
Oh?
Still a decent enough match, I have to say. There were Thomas had a couple of outs.
Yeah, definitely.
In theory.
No, but I think it's fair to say that he had, his draws been a little bit better.
Yeah. Again, I'm kind of surprised that the replenish can put up. The replenish deck can put up such a good fight against a monster of a deck that is fairies.
Yeah, and there we see the activation of the Fairy Conclave. So
and the concession.
And there is the concession. Yeah.
So down to the wire.
For the 5th game, do you think he'll actually stop being the nice guy that he's known to be and start cracking those seal of cleansings when he's not supposed to?
To be fair, when you're doing all that, it's usually kind of a game where you're heavily favored anyways. If you have a couple of parallax enchantments in play, or if you're behind, you're probably not going to resolve too much and to be able to do shenanigans like that. So it probably won't even matter. but he could.
Well, I guess we have seen a couple of times when he removed some lands with
Yeah, and then
the parallax tide, and
let it go
then
for a few turns. Yeah, it could happen, sure, but I actually don't think that he will he will do it. He's been pretty consistent with the way he plays with the cards.
yeah.
But I mean, a lot of us we have fun by making sure that our opponent does not have fun, right? We either discard their whole hand, counter everything they play, or destroy all their lands. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I could see him doing something like that. I honestly would do that, just to completely lock my opponent out of playing or having any semblance of fun.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's what's fun to me.
All right.
Off to the 5th. And there's a double plains hand for the replenish deck. Nope.
So we're waiting for David, our producer, to get everything set up for.
Yeah. We can talk about the hands at the very least. There's 2 plains, a bunch of good cards, 2 Lilting Refrains. If he draws an island turn 2 to play Lilting Refrain, I think that he's in good shape. Joel has a decent hand. He has a couple of Ancestral Visions, but still no Bitter Blossom. 1 Rune Snag, which is fine, but no other counter spells, no Cryptics or anything for the late game. He's going to rely pretty heavily on the Visions and the Rune Snag to get to the late game, because, I mean, I think that if you are the Replenish player here and you resolve the Lilting Refrain, I think you're in good shape.
Yeah.
You can probably overpower Joel before the Ancestral Visions kick in.
So an alignment tutor with no island is. Am I reading that right?
Oh, for the diamond maybe.
For the diamond, yeah, that's.
I think.
Yeah, that's kind of smart.
That's a safe play. I don't like it. I think that he
I really like that. I really like that play. I think that his hand is really horrible if he doesn't find that blue source.
That is true, but he's like, he can't operate on the absolute best level now.
Yeah, I guess the absolute best level would be resolving that back to basics with the doubles planning play.
Yeah.
But
if he draws an island, plays a Lilting Refrain turn 2, and then tutors for back to basics or whatever, he's got this in the bag.
Yeah. And we see the power of the Lilting Refrain. Joel opts to counter this.
Yeah. I think it's correct to counter it. Ooh, Joel draws the Tormod script.
Ooh, actually 2 Tormod script in his sideboard that we didn't see any of the game. And I would assume that he brings both in, right?
Yeah, for sure. But does he play it now? I think that you probably don't, because you kind of want your opponent to go into the whole attunement plan first. Maybe let him resolve an attunement even, and then play the Tormod script. Oh, and he has a replenish now, and the attunement. So he might, he might be playing into this.
So what's to play the attunement before the second Lilting Refrain? Do you think that's...
Yes, when you draw the... I think that when you draw the replenish, you do that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You kind of want to hit your land drop, and you kind of... like... You can play the Lilting Refrain next turn, and you can still wait on the replenish turn.
Yeah, actually up to... Never mind.
Well, he did not find any lands, but
yeah, that's a
found
really unfortunate. And look at this Tormod script now.
Yeah. Here's Tormod script, as well as a Spellstarter Sprite, which can, at this point, counter... Nope, he can't really counter a back to basics or a must counterspell just yet, but next turn he can with the help of a Sign of Una. There's an island finally.
Finally. But a little bit too light, I guess. And that refrain, I mean, will be, again, the spell stutter.
Probably stutter.
Coming to good use. There is the activation, the Vault.
I mean, he'll play another Lilting Refrain here, and yeah, I'm not sure. Like he needs.
He needs so much.
Yeah, like he needs.
And even if he gets to resolve his replenish, Tormod's Crypt is still there waiting for him.
Yeah, he needs like a Sealed Cleansing, and then his graveyard will be removed, and then he needs to play that attunement and refill his graveyard, and then he needs to play to replenish. But there's a couple of Ancestral Visions ticking, so my guess is that he's not going to have the time to draw all that.
Yeah, and with 3 of his 4 Opalescents in the graveyard, going for like the secondary beatdown plan is looking less valid of an option.
That 0 mana card. Oh, here's even the Thoughtseize. That 0 mana artifact. That's
just insult danger right there.
Nail in the crypt.
Yeah, what do you say?
What do you even take here? You're just happy seeing a hand of attunement and replenish.
Yeah.
Like here, keep an attunement. You can fill your graveyard even more.
Keep them replenished. Good luck resolving it.
Yeah. Not sure what series of circumstances has to happen to give Thomas a shot at this point.
Yeah, at this point.
Maybe playing your own Ancestrals.
Yeah.
And I mean, Joel has.
Oh, the click. We haven't seen the click before.
He could play just to draw a card now himself, like play a 3/1. Maybe he just plays the Sign of Una instead. Yeah, this is it's sad that this is the last match. Actually, we should have had the second or third.
That previous match would have been a better
game. Very good.
The third game.
This is just a very good sideboard card, granted, from Joel Larson. The 2 of Tormod's Crypt playing a huge factor here. If the Tormod's Crypt was not there, I mean, he has the Lilting Refrain, and he had the second attunement and the replenish. Could have been quite an interesting match to see when he goes for it, and if Joel actually draws into something. Because Joel, he has the Ancestral Visions ticking, but he doesn't really have anything in his hand. So, Thomas would probably have gone for it immediately. Probably have won because Joel was empty.
Yeah. But now I guess Joe's biggest concern is how do I win in the shortest amount of time?
Yeah, pretty much. Like, can I toy with him in any way? I don't want to kill him before I use my second Ancestral and draw 3 cards and, maybe start misbinding him just to pour some salt in the wounds. But,
I must say, though, that, I mean, both this match today and the series in general has been a big bag of fun for me and hopefully for you players as well. And not least for the viewers. Maybe you're the wrong guy to ask.
I'm the wrong guy to say that too. I didn't actually get to have fun. I would have loved to. I would have much preferred playing against Joel because he has creatures and we can discard each other's spells or whatever. We can have some kind of interaction, even though I would be a heavy underdog in that matchup as well. Or even the Psychotog deck, or I would love to play against the Sly deck. But the Replenish deck and the Frost Bloom deck are basically unbeatable for me.
Yeah, the Mono deck versus Psychotog, wasn't that actually a matchup at the time? I guess they are one year apart.
Jens Thorien, he played the Factor Fiction version. The mono black deck was in the same meta as the Concentrate version, the slightly worse card.
Slightly worse, and Compulsion.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it was just not too far off, but I mean, he would have been favored, but it was still. I would have
also the 4/4 spike version.
Yep.
One of my favorite cards of all time.
4 spike. I mean, I actually prefer Disrupt.
Yeah. No. Had this been my game, I mean, not that I have any actual deck to bring you or any results. My choice would have been the opposition deck thing, the double for the 4/4 spike and 4/4 disrupt.
Sure.
And of course the back.
There it is.
There is the concession.
Parallax Wave. It's what we've been waiting
on.
So
Joel wins the final in.
To the surprise of no one, Joel, rocking the Ferris deck, wins the match, wins the tournament, and I mean, well fought by Thomas. He put up a good fight.
Definitely well fought, and yeah, I guess it's fair to some extent that the best deck is also the one to win, but yeah, some of our viewers and friends have accused Joel of choosing a boring deck for the format, not maybe paying the biggest attention to the fun aspect of things, but I think that, you know, Ferris is, it's not, at least it's an interesting deck, and for some of our viewers who haven't been with us for so long, I mean, even now it does have a few years on its back, you know.
I guess it's been 4 years or whatever, but I just think that Joel has a different sense of fun than the other people.
Yeah, that might be the case. So coming up is the announcement. So for our next round, or for our next for our next Super Cup, I guess, the round 2, we have the Pro Tour New York 96 top 8. So this is going to be the very first Pro Tour top 8. Decks will be available at our webpage, svmtv.org. Be sure to check it out. I mean, if you haven't been around for very long, or if you just you're like an old school player, this will definitely be fun either way, because we're going to see some really classic cards, like we have Balance, we have Swords to Plowshares, Armageddon, Icy Manipulator. I mean, it's almost like the format is that 2004 computer game, Chandalar, that I know.
You missed out on the actual hits, the Fountain of Youth, the, like all the decks playing Disenchants in main, which is probably like actually good. Personally, I hope I get my hands on the Necropotence deck, the only Swede rocking the top 8, the Dark Ritual into Necropotence, or Ritual into Hypnotic Spectre, you know, the old school, really good plays, turn 1. But it's going to be interesting. It's hopefully going to be fun as well.
Black deck being played by Leon Lindbeck. Features, of course, the ability to do the classic Swamp Dark Ritual into Hypnotic Spectre.
Yep.
Definitely something for everyone to be excited about. I know for sure I am. Can be one of a really powerful opener, but if your opponent has Swords to Plowshares,
I mean, every other deck plays Swords to Plowshares, and basically every deck plays the Zuran Orb and Balance combo, if you will. I'm assuming there are some restrictions in play, because
I think the Balance for sure is restricted, because
it might even be at the point where the Zuran Orb was restricted. Is that not the case? Like I know that it was restricted at one point in the game, but I'm not, like, this is way before my time. We need Olle in here.
Yeah, definitely. And we need a ban and restriction list for for the format. But 96 finals, of course.
Pro Tour 1.
Pro Tour 1. Coming up. So with that, coming up, I don't think we have decided on a date yet. I'll ask our producer, David, do you know if there's a date set for this? Yeah, so in order not to miss anything, be sure to follow the SVM TV on Twitter and on Facebook. And of course, check in on our webpage. I guess in a short time, we'll post all the text for you to see what's what's to come. And I mean, I just get super nostalgic looking at these decks. I mean, all of these really classic cards that you, yeah, they kind of really defined Magic for a lot of us. Yeah, this is gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, looking forward to it. And also, thanks for having me.
Yeah, with the announcement of the round 2 of the Swedish Super Cup, I think that that's pretty much it for us tonight. We want to thank. Yeah,
I
sorry.
think that if people couldn't hear David, what he said was that there was no official date yet, but it will be announced shortly, maybe within a week or two or something, regarding round 2. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, all right. So thanks a lot, Dennis, for being with us tonight. Really great job. Thanks, of course, to David, our producer. Thanks to Svenska Magic, and thanks to all of you watchers and all our fans. Like I said before, be sure to follow us on the Facebook and Twitter in order to get the update on when the round 2 will be. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye.